Over the years, WWE has seen moments where things went terribly wrong, leading to career-ending injuries, life-changing consequences, and even tragedy. Today, we're diving into 10 of the deadliest and most devastating injuries in WWE history. The ones that remind us how dangerous the wrestling world can really be. 1. Owen Hart. This one will forever remain the darkest night in WWE history. On May 23, 1999, Owen Hart, performing under his Blue Blazer gimmick, was set to make a dramatic entrance at the Over the Edge pay-per-view in Kansas City. The stunt involved him being lowered from the rafters by a harness, a superhero-style entrance meant to poke fun at characters like Sting. But something went horribly wrong. The harness released too soon, and Owen plummeted over 70 feet into the ring. The impact was fatal. Fans in the arena didn't fully understand what had happened at first, many thinking it was part of the show. But as medics rushed to the ring and commentators' voices grew somber, the reality set in. Owen Hart, one of the most beloved and talented wrestlers of his time, had lost his life in front of thousands of fans.
Canadian Owen Hart, known as the Blue Blazer, was killed performing a pre-match stunt.
It was a moment that shook not only WWE but the entire wrestling world. WWE has since never attempted a stunt like that again. Owen's death is the most haunting reminder of how quickly something meant to entertain can turn into real-life tragedy. Just a few months after Owen Hart's passing, another devastating accident took place. Darren Drozdov, better known as Droz, was a rising WWE star with a ton of potential. On October 5, 1999, during a SmackDown taping, he was scheduled to wrestle D'Lo Brown. The match seemed routine at first, but then a simple move went catastrophically wrong. D'Lo attempted a running powerbomb, a move he had performed countless times before, but in that moment, something slipped. Droz didn't get the right lift, and he landed awkwardly on his head and neck. The impact left him instantly paralyzed from the neck down. The arena went silent, and what was supposed to be a standard match turned into one of the most heartbreaking nights in WWE history. The tragedy of Droz's injury was that it wasn't the result of recklessness, it was a freak accident. D'Lo Brown has spoken openly about how it affected him deeply, even though Droz himself never held any bitterness. Instead, he showed incredible strength, becoming an inspirational figure for fans and wrestlers alike. But his career was gone in an instant, and his life was changed forever. 3. Sid Vicious. Some injuries make you wince when you hear about them, but others are so graphic that they're burned into your memory forever. Sid Vicious's leg break in 2001 falls into the latter category. Though technically it happened in WCW and not WWE, it's still tied to the careers of many WWE stars and is often brought up in wrestling history because of how horrific it looked. At the WCW pay-per-view Sin in January 2001, Sid was in a Four Corners match for the World Heavyweight Championship. As part of the match, he was instructed to try a big move from the top rope, a high-risk maneuver that wasn't really his style. Fans were horrified. Even his opponents in the match froze at the sight. The injury ended Sid's career at the top level, and the footage still circulates today as one of wrestling's most shocking moments. It's a brutal reminder that sometimes wrestlers are pushed into spots that don't suit their bodies, and when things go wrong, the results can be catastrophic. Stone Cold Steve Austin. At SummerSlam 1997, Austin faced Owen Hart in a match for the Intercontinental Championship. Everything was going as planned until one move changed everything. For a few terrifying moments, he couldn't move his arms or legs, and the crowd went silent. Somehow, with sheer grit, Austin managed to crawl over and roll Hart up for the pin to finish the match, but it was clear something was terribly wrong. This injury changed the course of Austin's career. He was sidelined for months, and even when he returned, he had to alter his style completely, focusing less on technical wrestling and more on brawls to the Attitude Era. But behind all that glory was a man wrestling with a broken neck, a constant reminder of how close he came to losing it all in 1997. Some injuries happen so suddenly and so violently that you don't even have time to process them before you see the damage. Joey Mercury's ladder injury at Armageddon 2006 is one of those unforgettable moments. It was a fatal four-way ladder match for the WWE Tag Team Championships, featuring Mercury. As always with the Hardys, ladders were flying everywhere. At one point, Jeff Hardy swung a ladder right into the ring. Cameras quickly cut away as medical staff rushed in, but it was too late. The damage was severe. He suffered a broken nose, multiple facial fractures, and needed reconstructive surgery with dozens of stitches. That one moment derailed Mercury's career for a long time. He eventually returned to wrestling and later worked as a producer, but his face was never the same. Fans often remember the gruesome image of him leaving the ring covered in blood, a living example of just how unforgiving ladder matches can be. Edge's story is one of triumph, heartbreak, and redemption. Known as the rated R superstar, Edge built his career on taking huge risks: tables, ladders, chairs, and anything else WWE could throw at him. But behind all the championships and highlights, his body was slowly breaking down. Years of neck trauma piled up, starting with a serious spinal injury in the early 2000s. He underwent surgery, came back, and continued to perform at a high level. But the damage never truly went away. By 2011, Edge was the World Heavyweight Champion and still performing at the top of his game. Then after WrestleMania 27, doctors told him the unthinkable. One more bump, one more wrong landing, and he could end up paralyzed for life. In April 2011, Edge gave an emotional retirement speech on Raw. Fans were stunned. This was the guy who lived for the spotlight, suddenly forced to walk away. It wasn't just the end of a career, it was the end of an era. Edge's case showed that sometimes the most dangerous injuries are the ones you can't see in a single shocking moment. They're the ones that build up over years of sacrifice. Of course, Edge made a miraculous comeback years later in 2020, proving his story wasn't finished. But the fact remains, his original retirement was one of the scariest reminders of how fragile a wrestler's body really is. 7. Mick Foley. Mick Foley, also known as Mankind, is famous for his willingness to put his body through absolute hell for the sake of wrestling. But no moment captures that dedication or that danger, quite like his Hell in a Cell match against The Undertaker at King of the Ring 1998. During the match, Foley was thrown off the top of the 16-foot cell, crashing through the announcer's table below. Fans gasped in shock. The impact was bone-jarring, but Foley's night wasn't over. Later, he was slammed through the cell roof again, this time landing brutally on the ring mat. These weren't scripted moments. Foley's body took real, serious damage. He suffered a dislocated shoulder, a concussion, and a variety of other injuries, but he kept going, finishing the match with sheer willpower. That night became legendary, not just for the spectacle, but for the pain Foley endured. The image of him dangling from the top of the cell, battered and bloody, is etched into wrestling history. Foley's sacrifice showed the world just how far some wrestlers will go for the fans, but it also served as a stark warning of just how dangerous the ring can be when stunts go beyond human limits. 8. Hayabusa. Though not strictly WWE, Japanese wrestling legend. Hayabusa's injury is often cited in WWE circles because it influenced how American promotions handled high-risk moves. Hayabusa, known for his death-defying stunts, was performing a springboard moonsault in a tag team match in 1998 when disaster struck. He missed the mark on the landing, hitting the edge of the ring awkwardly. The result was catastrophic. Hayabusa broke his neck, leaving him partially paralyzed and ending his in-ring career almost instantly. For someone whose entire wrestling persona was built around aerial maneuvers and daring stunts, it was devastating. Fans and fellow wrestlers were in shock, seeing a performer who once seemed untouchable suddenly unable to move freely. This incident changed the conversation around safety in wrestling, particularly for high-flying athletes. It highlighted the razor-thin line between incredible performances and career-ending accidents, reminding wrestlers and fans alike that every move in the ring carries real, serious consequences. 9. Triple H. Triple H is one of the most iconic figures in WWE history, but even the cerebral assassin wasn't immune to career-threatening injuries. In 2001, during a tag team match at Madison Square Garden, he suffered a torn quadriceps, a gruesome injury that instantly changed the match and could have ended his career. He could barely move, but like the true performer he is, he still managed to finish the match, hiding the severity of the injury from the live audience. Behind the scenes, doctors confirmed it was a complete tear.
When you open the skin looking for the defect, it was the top part of the quadriceps was still intact, but the main part was torn out underneath, and so it was real hard to try to identify what had happened.
Requiring surgery and months of grueling rehabilitation. For someone constantly performing at peak physical level, this injury was a massive setback. It also highlighted how even the strongest, most conditioned athletes are vulnerable in the ring. Triple H's comeback after the injury was inspiring, but it serves as a reminder that a single misstep in wrestling can put everything on the line, no matter how experienced you are. 10. Finn Balor. Finn Balor's injury is a more recent example of how even the most agile and talented wrestlers are at risk. At SummerSlam 2016, Balor had just made history by becoming the first ever WWE Universal Champion. The excitement in the arena was electric, but what should have been a celebratory night quickly turned tense. During a routine spot in the match, Balor landed awkwardly on his shoulder, instantly dislocating it. He continued the match as best he could, showing remarkable resilience, but the pain and damage were severe. Medical staff rushed him after the match, and it became clear that he would need immediate surgery and months of recovery. Balor's injury was a harsh reminder that even the smallest miscalculation or unlucky landing can derail a wrestler's career or championship moment. It also showed fans that behind the glitz and glory, WWE athletes put their bodies through immense risk every time they step into the ring. From Owen Hart's tragic fall to Finn Balor's dislocated shoulder, these 10 injuries remind us that behind every spectacular move is a human being putting everything on the line. Fans cheer, wrestlers perform, and the story continues, but the dangers are always real. Next time you watch a match, remember the courage it takes just to step inside the ring. These athletes entertain millions, but sometimes that entertainment comes at a price that's impossible to ignore. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit like and subscribe so you don't miss our next one. See you soon.